Hey everyone, this is Gary Kayye and Steph Beckett, and we want to welcome you to this preview of the CIX show coming up in 1 month. What is that, September 5th, 6th, and 7th, Steph?
Exactly. We are so excited to help, the CIX team, and we're going to be telling you a few of the things that you can expect to see at the show, co-located with Integrator Expo, of course, in beautiful Denver, Colorado. So we've brought a few guests along with us, but before we jump into everything that you guys can expect from the show, Gary, let's tell them a little bit about what the show even is.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So Integrator Expo, which has been around for about 30 years, is sort of like the high-end residential show. Home theaters, smart homes, home automation. And so it's like a level above the CES show, all custom integrated stuff. The team that puts that together decided that they wanted to do a commercial AV show specifically in the areas where residential and commercial meet. So an example of that would be bars and restaurants. So a lot of high-end residential integrators do bar and restaurant projects, right? And they even get pulled into boardrooms and meeting rooms every once in a while because maybe they did the home of the CEO. Yep. So there's sort of this resi-mercial space, and we're seeing a lot more manufacturers go into that space. Origin Acoustics, Legrand, Crestron, Snap AV is a distributor in that space. ADI is another distributor in that space that are going between residential and commercial. So they created a show called Commercial Integrator Expo, CIX, and it happens at the exact same time as CEDIA on the same floor, but there's like a dividing line between the two. So if you register for one, you get both. So the great thing is, if you're a commercial AV integrator and you're curious about the residential space, this would be a good show to go to because there's, the majority of the floor is residential. But if you're in residential and you're curious about getting into commercial, CIX is perfect for that because it's light commercial. It's not the it's not the Infocom, it's not the heavy duty cool stuff that you're familiar with every day in high-end commercial. This is like the stuff that meshes in between the two, between residential and commercial. So it's got a kind of unique niche, Steph.
No, agreed. I think that the great thing about CIX, like this is not going to be like a replacement for Infocom. Like I don't really consider those to be competitors. No. But what CIX is it is going to be commercial products influenced by the home AV market.
That's a good way of putting it. That's a good way, because you have a company like Origin Acoustics that made, for 10 years, last decades, made real high-end speakers. And now they've added 70-volt product line and partnerships that allows them to go into commercial projects. So you'd use them in your house, but now they have a line of products that you could use as outdoor landscape in business settings. For example, around a business patio area where you have all your team eat lunch, or even an outside bar area, a doctor's and dentist's office kind of thing. That's a great way to explain it. And so we're here on the launch platform to deliver this, and we're also, I guess, for those of you who could be seeing us on LinkedIn potentially as well, we are broadcasting this event specifically to kind of get you excited about this show. It's the only show in Denver, and it's the only real commercial thing going on in the fall. So if you're wanting to go to a trade show, this is kind of a unique thing to do, and you get a chance to go to CEDIA. So you're on the launch platform right now, and if you're interested in registering, right below the video window here, you'll see a banner ad that says register or something about how to register for the show. You should go ahead and click on it now if you want. You can still keep this video window open and listen to us while you're registering. And why don't you review the platform a little bit, Steph?
Yep. Yeah, so come take a look at our platform. As you can see, Gary and I are talking to you. This is the live video window. This is where all of the content's going to be coming at you today. To our right, that is the Q&A. We will do our best to answer your questions if you have them. And if you scroll down a little bit, don't forget about networking. That is where you can talk to other attendees like yourselves. You can direct message me, Gary, or any one of the rAVe team that you can see are also online. We'll be happy to answer your questions. Or feel free to talk amongst yourselves in the general chat. I love participating in there as well, so I will probably hop in there from time to time. If you continue down, we'll have some relevant information about some of the manufacturers that you're going to see talking today, as well as all of the speakers who are joining us. We have a lot of guests because, it's one thing for me and Gary to just come up here and talk about everything that's going to happen at the show, but we wanted some other voices and some other people to talk to you guys as well. So if you want to connect with any of them, their LinkedIns are attached, so you can just click on their names.
And we should jump right into it. And I interviewed, unfortunately, it wasn't available for a live interview, so we pre-recorded an interview. I pre-recorded an interview with Jason McGraw. Jason is in charge of the entire CIX show and the CEDIA Expo. And he's also in charge of the Kitchen and Bath Association show. So he's got a lot of show experience. He's been in our industry actually for 30 plus years. And I sat down with Jason to talk to him about, what we can expect at the CIX show, a little bit about what we can expect at CEDIA. And we also talked about the educational offerings and sort of what's different as far as that. So if you went to the show last year, what you'll see different. And if you've never been to the show, this is a good piece, a good interview with Jason for you to check out kind of what the show is like from the guy who's putting on the show for CIX and for CEDIA. So check this interview out with Jason McGraw. Hey everyone, this is Gary Kayye, and I'm joined today with, as I said, Jason McGraw, who heads up both CEDIA Expo and the new CIX show. I should say new, but it's second year, Jason. Congratulations on a successful first year. I'm very much looking forward to seeing the two shows integrated again for 2024. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Gary. Glad to be with you today. We're excited for the shows coming up for sure.
I am too. I mean, look, CEDIA Expo has a built-in audience, 25-year-old audience. They've been around 25 plus years for CEDIA Expo. I mean, it is the high-end residential event of the year. There is no better residential show that is that's focused on home theaters and smart homes automation, smart building kind of stuff with regard to homes. CIX is newer, and you did something quite interesting last year where you sort of had this dividing line of companies that shared both commercial and home. And then on the other side of that dividing line were a bunch of companies that were on the commercial AV space in kind of unique ways. Let's first start with that. There is a crossover. There is a clear intermingling where high-end residential integrators are moving into doing more small business application stuff and vice versa.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, before we decided to launch Commercial Integrator Expo last year, co-locate it with CEDIA Expo on the same show floor and adding a content program together, we're kind of responding to the market, right? During the pandemic and even before the pandemic, there's been commercial products that have been used in high-end residential and light commercial settings. And nearly 50% of the CEDIA Expo attendees do some type of commercial work, right?
Yeah.
And so, large brands at the show, for years, Legrand, Sony, Samsung, Crestron, they've been showing commercial product alongside residential products. So we said, hey, we need to address this. And the whole work from home phenomenon and hybrid workspaces and kind of accelerate it out of the pandemic, this kind of a more homogenation between the commercial side and the residential side, or resi-mercial, as we've called it. And so, we launched the CIX show last year, had great success. The aisles were super busy, a lot of interest there. And, most of those exhibitors came back again this year. We've added a bunch of new ones. So we're definitely growing and having a bigger show this year than we had last year.
Let's talk about that.
Talking more about it, more of that convergence, if you will, the channels.
Yeah, I want to talk about that for just a second. So since you had your show, some big brands have actually moved from just being residential brands to being residential and commercial. And I attribute that to them seeing the value of that and how and where to go. Like for Origin Acoustics is a good example of that. Leon Speakers is another good example of that. Snap One is a great example of that, where they are the dominant distributor, have been the dominant distributor in the residential space. They made a very calculated announcement that they're moving into the commercial space, and then they get acquired by a company, ADI, right, which is part of Residio. ADI, who's also in the commercial space. There's a lot going on where there's this intermingling of the two, and you talked about resi-mercial sort of that way, but it also goes the other way around too, right, where these companies that are in the residential space are now seeing, hey, we can help the commercial space too. And so what I want to know is the conference sessions that are going to be there. And by the way, the show is the 5th through the 7th of September, the actual exhibition dates. And the two shows you can go into both shows. One pass gets you into both shows. So you can register for either show. I'm sure Jason has the details of how you should register, but the conference sessions, like the educational pieces, I think are really important. Tell me about what we can expect at this year's event.
Yeah, so, as you mentioned, CEDIA, the association, still is very involved in CEDIA Expo and has been for 3 decades, and they have a great conference program. And a number of their topics also touch on commercial. Lighting, of course, is a big one that's both growing in residential and commercial, especially the architectural LED lighting. So, we have sessions in their conference program, in the Commercial Integrator conference program, our lighting pavilion on the show floor, and smart stage sessions as an example, right? And there's more, when we talk about multi-dwelling units and we talk about mixed use and hospitality spaces, we have some sessions in the CIX conference this year talking about the education market. And, we touched on earlier about like the work from home. So, we've partnered with IMCCA again to have a number of track sessions that are going to talk about the UC and collaboration spaces that, go across whether, it's corporate or government or higher education and work from home. And so again, we're trying to respond to the trends that we're seeing in the channels and highlight those in relevant topics in the conference program, both in the CEDIA conference and the CIX conference.
And it should be important for people to know that if they sign up for one or the other, can they attend either conference sessions, or do you have to pay separately for the CEDIA Expo conference sessions versus the Commercial Integrator? Yeah. I know the stuff that's on the floor is available for anybody.
Yeah. Today, it's 2 separate programs. Okay. We have like a day pass or a buy one pass and get all the sessions. It's really not that expensive. And then, of course, the manufacturer product training sessions are available to attendees of both shows.
And those are awesome because the brands that do those they're not sales sessions. They're more of like how to integrate. Here's the value proposition, but also here are the new market opportunities. And I think that's been a big part of it. I thought that they did a great job last year talking about, as you said, work from home and UC, those types of stuff were focused on really, really well. I also wonder about some of the new opportunities for companies and how they could explore that at CIX, meaning, or for that matter, CEDIA Expo. Like we're sort of like you mentioned, work from home is a possibility, but there's also a lot more going on. Like digital signage, I know is part of what you address at your show. What are the other elements are you kind of focused on with adding CIX?
Well, I think for us, it's a reflection of on the conference program, it's kind of like here's what's going on in the marketplace and business opportunities. And it's really, again, I keep using the word hybrid, but if you're a resi integrator and you're trying to expand your business more into commercial, you're going to be interested in the CIX sessions because it's going to tell you about, how to design, manage or design spaces in some of these different verticals, or, how do you, get involved in esports, or how do you get involved with, higher ed market, et cetera. So there's about 24 sessions that we have,
including mine, by the way, Jason.
Including yours, Gary.
Because I think mine's actually really applicable. It's how you, and mine works in both home or business applications, which is how to design spaces that are more experiential rather than just sort of putting in the technology. So anyway, that's my only plug, Jason.
Well, and so we also want to attract commercial integrators, and we want to attract technology managers from some of these segments as well. And I think the combination of the sessions that we have and the show floor exhibitors, 3/4 of our exhibitors are not going to other major trade shows. So you're going to see a lot of product on the show floor that you're not seeing at other major events. If you're a commercial integrator, for example, and especially we talked about lighting, window shades. We have a ton of that. Well, a lot of new brands on the show floor this year that, you're not seeing or you haven't seen around at regional events or other major shows. So that's one area. We're also seeing more micro LED come into the show this year. So, you talked about digital signage, certainly the fixed install audio side and video distribution, security products. The nice thing, but interesting part of CEDIA long for the years has been it's really an integrated system show, right? When you look about a residential environment, a commercial environment, it's like, there's a lot more about energy management. There's a lot more about sustainability, control systems. We have all the leading control system brands at the show, the Savants and Crestrons and URCs and, Lutron, major exhibitor on the show floor this year, one of the keynote presentations at the show.
In fact, Lutron is actually a great example of a company that does commercial and residential, and has actually recently just announced that we're getting more into the commercial space and have come out with a whole series of products aimed at commercial. So they're a good example of that.
Yeah.
So when I go to obviously we're going to be in Colorado again, which by the way, I love that venue. It's not like a lot of other venues where the hotels are really far away or it's hard to access. It's real easy to access. There's a lot to do around the convention center, by the way. If you want to have meetings, there's a lot of meeting spaces, a lot of cool restaurants and bars. Are you going to have your little outdoor area where you showed outdoor products across the street? Because that, I think, was one of the most popular things last year.
Yeah. So, sponsored by Coastal Source and some other brands. It's directly across from the convention center, our Destination Outdoors. And there's a lot of brands on the show floor that have outdoor products, whether it's landscape lighting, audio, outdoor LEDs. That's certainly that the push to go outdoors, became big during the pandemic, and it's only continued since then. That's certainly a big trend at the show. The other thing we have at the shows this year is, we've partnered with Technology Designer Magazine for their Day of Discovery program. So that's focusing on, AV systems for designers, builders, architects, and really talking about this design-centric focus of, these spaces, whether it's in the home or mixed use or multi-dwelling units, et cetera. So, we're really trying to expand the audience at the show and what we're talking about at the two shows. And so we think the synergy of having Commercial Integrator Expo, CEDIA Expo together, one time, one place, is really going to elevate the discussion and further accelerate business opportunities on both channels moving forward.
Well, if you are a commercial integrator and you're looking at new markets, new expansion opportunities, you want to go into whether it be high-end residential, or if you want to learn more about security, you want to learn more about the work from home movement and sort of how to deal with those types of clients, this is a great opportunity for you, because you'll see the commercial products, but you'll also see the high-end residential products. The show is the 5th, 6th, and 7th of September. There's nothing else going on in the fall. This is a great time to do it. And by the way, for higher education, it's perfect timing because they're done with all their installs over the summer. And so I think if you're in higher education, this would be a show for you to take a look at attending. It's a really inexpensive place to fly into and to stay at. The hotel rates don't fluctuate when the show comes to town, which is one thing that I really appreciate that your team put together there, Jason. And so let's make sure that people sign up for the show. And if you're on the fence, contact me directly. I've been to the show, and I've also been part of the I don't want to say planning, but I've been intimately involved in knowing what's been going on since the thing was created, since it became your brainchild, Jason. Contact me and I'll let you know my opinion on it, because I think it's something that you should, whether you're a manufacturer and you're looking at exhibiting, or you're an integrator thinking about attending. Jason, how do we register? I know we go to cdexpo.com, right? We can go to cdexpo.com. What about for CIX? Can I register for CIX at cdexpo.com, or do I got to go to a different site?
So it's two separate registrations. Same badge will get you on the shared show floor. Again, separate registration for the conference program, but expo.commercialintegrator.com is the website for CIX registration. Okay. But if you go to either site, you're going to see the shared floor plan, the exhibitors for both shows. You'll be able to see that. We'll have our mobile app available in August prior to the show, so you can plan and see who you're going to visit and how to get from booth to booth. But it's a great venue, and everything's walkable downtown. All the hotels are close by.
All the hotels you can walk there.
And restaurants, and we've got the CE Pro All-Star Band playing again this year. This year
includes Jason.
Yep. Well, I don't know. I still got to practice a bit. Yeah, they're playing this year with the CEDIA Awards on Friday night. So we've actually changed that up this year. That'll be exciting, and it's open to all attendees. But yeah, a lot of exciting new keynote sessions at the show together this year, and so we're really excited about it. And we want to invite everybody to come out and check the show out, take the sessions, come to the networking events, and learn, discover, enjoy, and you'll move forward in your career and in your business. So please join us and enjoy the trip.
Yeah, and enjoy the rest of what we're gonna do here the rest of the day, because we want to make sure that you understand kind of the value of these two shows and how they're different from everything else that's out there. So Jason, thanks for joining me. I always like talking to Jason because he's got some interesting insights, but also he really understands the market really well. Steph, who's next?
Well, I'm really excited about our next guest. I think you might know him, Gary. This is Mark Coxon, who currently is at AVI SPL. And the great thing about his role is he is all about experience. And what's great at experience is the home AV market, which we were kind of talking about earlier. So he is so excited about CIX because he told me he's really looking forward to how experience is going to go into the commercial market, and this show is going to really, really help make that happen. So he and I had been talking about that off camera, so I'm really excited to have him on camera so we can talk about that some more. So yeah.
Okay, and for our next session, I am going to interview Mark Coxon. Welcome, by the way. First of all, I know you don't need that big of an introduction because you are very renowned in our industry, but you are at AVI SPL. And tell me your title one more time.
I'm the Director of Business Development for our Experience Technology Group, XTG.
Very cool. Why do you think it is cool for someone with your job title and your job function to attend this show?
Well, I think, my job as a business development director, and even within our group at AVI SPL, is to help customers think outside the box, to bring them new ideas, to help inspire new ways of thinking. And so I think a show like this that takes a slightly different stent on the AV industry and combines residential and commercial technology shows together gives me a unique opportunity to kind of bring some of those new ideas to customers and add value to those conversations.
Do you think that there is a lot that we can learn in the commercial space from the folks who began or are working more heavily in the residential space?
I think so. I think it's very interesting because, like, in commercial, we talk a lot about utility and functionality and ROI and business metrics around how our AV systems are used, and that's very, very important. That's the quantitative data that people need in order to make a smart investment. But the interesting thing about the residential world, or about thinking about residential customers, it's much more a personal reflection of who they are, and it's about whether they like it. And many times in AV on the commercial side, we don't ask customers if they like what we did. That's a subjective metric we don't want to get into, right? Like, we want to say, did we deliver the scope of work? Did the stuff register on the meter the way it was supposed to? Does it function? But do they like it is a whole other thing. And so I think this show helps kind of bring those two paradigms together, because experience really is a lot about the subjective interpretation of what we do by the people that have to use our systems every day.
This is really interesting because I feel like what you're talking about goes along with what you've written for rAVe recently, is why aren't we focusing more on the experience of the technology that we're delivering? So do you think that this is going to give like some fresh eyes to this by attending this show?
I think so. I think if people are coming to CI Expo, they're going to see this slight shift in the attitude and the way that people talk about the systems that we use. It's funny, we're trying to help our customers on the commercial side solve this problem of hybrid, and why and how can space be important to our employees, space beyond the first and second, third spaces, when you're talking about that whole thing, but in order to do that, in order for that space to be valuable, in order for somebody to get in their car and drive somewhere, they have to enjoy that experience more than they enjoy the other one. And I think as IT managers, facilities managers, a lot of people don't like to have to look at the world through that paradigm of if people like something or not, but
Right.
it's extremely important, right? Like if I don't like this space you provide to me, I'm not going to go work there. I'm going to sit in my living room and do my work on my laptop instead. So I think it's a great show to change people's mindsets a little bit, and to just see the really cool fit and finish that a lot of these products offer.
Yeah. Do you think this is a good show to kind of start to gain our footing in this like hybrid workforce Wild West that we're living in? Because when you think about it, hybrid work is half at home, half in the workplace. And, this show could very well be half residential and half commercial. So it almost seems like this is the perfect like place to help us figure out our footing and help figure out like what are some solutions to the problems that we keep having.
Yeah, last time I went, I did go last year, and so some of the great things that looking at and talking to people about last year, people like Leon that build custom
Yeah.
enclosures to create fit and finish around displays, or to create custom housings around speakers and cameras. People like Sonance, who are have all sorts of form factors of speakers that can disappear, look like air registers, can be square or round. Those things matter when you're
Yeah.
talking about design. They may not matter in how the speaker propagates sound through a space, but they matter when you're looking at it. Or Megapixel's Ventana display, the really thin frame display that was out there, the really deep blacks and high gloss and looks like a really high-end TV for an LED type of screen. Those things can make a lot of difference in how we're designing spaces. And so I saw some really cool things last year on accident. I didn't have a purpose when I went last year. I wanted to see the show. I wanted to support the expo. But I came away with even myself with a kind of a new take on how certain technologies could be used and improved upon in the commercial space. So I think this is a great show to do that.
Yeah, I like that you brought up fit and finish because we think of like, okay, what does it matter if it's that beautiful? Like, does it work? I feel like that is the knee-jerk reaction when it comes to installs from like a commercial perspective. But like, who's gonna want to sit and work in a conference room that's ugly and like makes their brain hurt to like sit and look around them for so long?
I think of and I'm going to date myself. I think of this movie Joe versus the Volcano with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, and where he goes into work and the fluorescent light is like flickering and his eyes twitching the whole time as he's trying to sit at his desk, right? And
Yeah.
he's in this, so does an acoustic ceiling tile grid with round flush speakers and fluorescent lights work for somebody to sit at a desk and type
Sure.
things into a computer? Sure, it does. You know what? A semi-trailer with a fan and a spotlight works for somebody to sit and do work on their laptop. Doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't mean that you would choose to do it. And I think what we're seeing is, offices are doing a lot more in design. They're coming in with like wood slat ceilings. They're coming in with warm materials. They're coming in with clouds of different levels to create different like heights, environments, feelings. Like the kinetic feeling of a low ceiling and a high ceiling are completely different. Right? If you want to create a warm, intimate space, you might use warm flush lights with a lower ceiling and some different colors. Where if you want to create an open, airy space, you may do something completely different. You may leave the rafters open and things like that. And so the technologies that we use to integrate into those spaces need to fit the design intent of what those people are now trying to do. And if we're just saying, hey, everything is a white circular speaker with a metal grill, we may not win that project because we're not helping that person deliver what their intention is. And so on the experience design part, like obviously you could tell I'm amplifying here as we're talking about this, but on the experience design part, that matters. And
Well, this is why I wanted to talk to you about it of all people. So, because I knew that you would care and that you'd make good points. And, I think this is why people should go to the show. We should start like pushing this into commercial because, we all have to work in it at the very least. So, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you there. I'm excited about this show.
I am too. I always have a great time. It's travel. There's a lot of travel in my year. And so I honestly try to minimize my travel on things that I don't believe are important to the industry or to me. And this is one that I've prioritized this year because I really think that it has the opportunity to jump out of the box as something a little different than what we see when we go to the tabletop shows or some of the really, really large shows that we have in our industry. And so anyways, that's why I want to support this show. I think it does have just a different view, sets a different paradigm, and could be really important long-term to our industry.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Denver. Thank you so much for hopping on with me today.
Appreciate it. Nice to see you, Steph.
See ya.
All right, that was great, Steph. Mark's always got some great insights, and I like the transition between residential and commercial AV that he presented. So I interviewed Mike Bridwell from, he used to be with Digital Projection and then Sonos, but now is with Atlas IED. Cool. And he's got some amazing history in our industry and kind of a unique perspective, spending the last decade on the audio side of things. And Atlas IED, as you know, is sort of like a budget-friendly mass notification audio system. Also, they have a system called Atmosphere, which is kind of an all-in-one audio system for applications like bars and restaurants and things like that, office spaces. So I sat down with him and talked about what we can expect from them. Atlas IED is going to be an exhibitor at the show this year. What we can expect from them at the show. So this is just a quick, less than 5-minute interview. Check this out with me and Michael. Hey everyone, this is Gary again, and I'm now joined with Michael Bridwell, who is the VP of Commercial Audio Sales at Atlas IED. Michael, we're talking about CIX and CEDIA. You have been a big part of both shows for a long time. First with Digital Projection, then Sonance, now with Atlas IED. First off, congratulations on the new gig. But what can we expect at the show next month?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gary, and thanks for having me on. So we'll be in the CIX area in a 10x10. Atlas IED is known, really, really well known, obviously a 90-year-old company, but known for the budget-oriented audio solutions. Well, the wealth of talent that lives at Atlas IED from the top down is largely unknown to the marketplace. So this is going to be a really fun show for us. We're going to be able to show people performance audio in a lot of different form factors. And most people that come to see us are going to be pretty surprised by what I put in front of them. So
what you're basically saying is that you're going to go into even higher end audio applications?
For sure. We have the budget oriented, speakers by the mile solutions nailed. And I'm super proud of that arsenal that continues to sell into massive applications in transportation, airports, the whole bit.
Yeah.
And you're going to see this level of performance. If you weren't at Infocom, you're going to see a level of performance displayed for you that's going to shock you.
Yeah, and also you have some very unique solutions because you have that all-in-one Atmosphere system as well that I think would be interesting to a lot of people there. And of course, when you go to an amusement park, all you see is Atlas IED everywhere.
Yeah, so to go into deeper detail, we'll actually do live presentations of Atmosphere plus Cloud, which allows fully remote monitoring of all your systems that are attached to an Atmosphere amplifier. And Atmosphere obviously has both Dante and DSP included as well. So it's this wonderful platform that we'll demonstrate in real time so people can see its capabilities. And Atmosphere will be running all of our speaker demos as well.
It's interesting because it seems like the cross between commercial AV and residential AV is happening on the audio side first. There are companies that also have projectors in both categories, but they're different departments, right? Like for example, Sony and LG and Samsung, they all have different groups, completely different groups. But on the audio side, it seems like those are the companies, companies like Atlas IED, who are the same teams and the same product lines can be used in both applications rather than having a completely different product line.
You're exactly right. And one of the great things about my new job at Atlas is I get to speak to all the different sides, all the different channels. So I equally will talk to my residential counterparts and customers that are putting 70-volt products into restaurants and retail applications.
Yeah.
As I can to the commercial guys, as I can to the security personnel and the electrical contractors that'll be at the show. I can't wait. I'll talk to everybody.
Yeah, you definitely are, and you're very personable, and yeah, I mean, and obviously you have a great background, having come from primarily residential, but a little bit of commercial and Sonance. I mean, obviously you gave some examples where they have popped into a commercial every once in a while, but they're primarily, I'd say 99% residential, and a lot of do-it-yourselfers. In the case of Atlas IED, you're stepping up quite a bit, and you're obviously partnering with integrators, and that's a big part of the audience that'll show up at CIX.
For sure, especially integrators that are interested in that hospitality, retail, experiential side of audio. I cannot wait to be with those folks. And digital projection, we were functionally schizophrenic because we got to work all markets. So we learned commercial, resi, simulation viz, all these different channels, and it just allowed us to be really multi-capable.
Yeah, well, you've got some great experience there. Atlas IED is a great company. You can learn more at atlasied.com. And of course, we have a lot more to cover here at this kind of preview for the CIX show. So don't forget about it. And Michael, I really appreciate you joining me.
Thanks. It's great to see you. And I can't wait to see everybody in Denver.
And thanks for your time.
That was awesome, Gary. I really, really liked his insights, and I am looking forward to seeing Atlas IED and everything that they bring to the show.
Good.
Yeah, well, next up, I'm really excited for this next guest. Her name is Amelia Vrabel. You guys might know her. She's pretty well known in our industry, and she is really well known in the UCC market. So I'm excited to ask her some questions about, hey, are we going to see some really cool UC solutions at the show? What are the trends she's noticing in hybrid, and how this show might kind of help solve this working from home, partially working from the office dilemma. So really looking forward to that conversation.
She's teaching a session too, right?
Yeah, she is. So
Okay,
you can
good.
also find more information on that on the CIX website. So let's go ahead and bring her on. I'm really looking forward to talking to her. Okay, so for this next quick session as part of our CIX preview, I'm joined by Amelia Vrabel. Amelia, how are you, first of all?
I'm great, Steph. How are you?
Doing well. So I am super excited about CIX. It was both of our first times attending the show last year, as it was the first time it ever existed. So tell me a little bit about what you liked about attending the show last year versus what you're looking forward to seeing this year.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, I love having a show here in Colorado. I live here, so it's always nice to have a show that you don't have to get on an airplane or deal with a lot of stuff to get to. I had attended CEDIA in the past when it was just on its own, but it was really exciting to see Commercial Integrator bring more of a commercial piece to it, because there is a lot of crossover, and it did actually bring a lot more people to the show and highlighting different things that might not have really made it into a CEDIA, in the past. So, it was relatively a smaller footprint last year, but I see this as a space that can continue to build as there is more crossover between both of the different markets and the different types of solutions that people are looking for.
Do you think that we're going to continue to see more crossover from residential into commercial, or do you see more commercial coming into residential? Like, how do you see this crisscross merging happen?
I think I've always sort of seen more residential focus crossing into commercial. But certainly, world is very different now where, a lot of people in commercial environments are working in a home type scenario. So, certainly that also means that folks that are dealing with the commercial space are sort of by definition also dealing with residential type of opportunities potentially. So, there's just a lot more merging of the two markets. And I think a lot more of the technologies and the needs are more similar than they ever have been. And, it's just still a great time to explore various different things that are coming into the world. And even if they're not necessarily pertinent to you and the space that you're in, a lot of times you do ultimately see that crossover happening, or those ideas kind of migrating into other products moving down the road.
Well, also just as being a person in the industry, you want to see what is happening. Like, even if you don't fully work in like commercial or resi-mercial or even residential, coming to this show kind of helps give you helps you keep a pulse on the industry, basically.
Exactly. And I think there's always I have this in my home, why can't I do this in the office, or even vice versa that you tend to see. And obviously, we all know there's different requirements for homes as offices, but it also helps to highlight, like you said, what's new, what's happening, why things are potentially being designed in different spaces. And, there's a lot of the fundamental underlying technologies that are very similar that can be, great learning for whatever you're doing in whatever space you're focused on.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm also excited to check out your session. So you have a session that's going to be at the show. Tell me a little bit about what you're speaking about.
Yeah, so last year I spoke also on hybrid work, and hybrid work has definitely been an evolving topic,
Yep.
especially since the pandemic, right? We kind of went from work from home to return to office to let's hope we don't say that word again, because actually the one that was the worst was return to work, because I think we all felt like we were working all this time. But the reality is we are in a world where offices exist, people go into them, they want to go into them for different reasons, and people are working in different formats, whether you're in an office 3 days a week or 1 day a week or whatever the mix that makes sense. There is a real need to work effectively and be able to collaborate effectively wherever you are and with different types of people. And there's certainly lots of different tools that are out there today. AI is obviously something that's on a lot of people's heads, and how does that play into this environment? Also, how do we build spaces that are not just, like the old offices we used to design, because nobody's going to go drive an hour to sit in an office and just be on a video call that they could do from home. So that space has to be meaningful. And we in this industry have the opportunity to make those spaces meaningful for our customers, both the people in the office and helpful to the people that are potentially remote being part of those conversations.
No, and it's truly the Wild West in terms of like meeting room technology right now. So I am really excited to check out your session. So the last thing I want to say is just thank you for joining me and talking a little bit to me about, what we can expect at the show. And I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
Yes, look forward to seeing you too. And I hope it's a great show. I'm sure it will be. And it'd be great to see everyone again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amelia.
Thanks.
All right, so next up is another preview from a manufacturer who's going to be on the show floor, and that is Aurora Multimedia. Everyone knows Paul Harris, doesn't need an introduction. He's the founder of the company, president of the company. Last year, they came to the show with a new solution for an all-in-one solution for UCC, and he's actually made it even better. It's a kind of a unique look. It's kind of a unique way of building a room. Instead of using mic arrays, let's put a mic in front of every single person. That's the approach to it. Does video routing and distribution, but he's also he also talks about a new way of doing AV over IP, or a bridge to AV over IP. Check out this interview with Paul Harris. All right, I'm here with Paul Harris of Aurora Multimedia. Paul, first off, you obviously made an early on commitment to the CIX show, so you see a differentiation in sort of what they're offering and everything else that's out there. I mean, first off, there's not much else in the fall for commercial AV company to go to, but also you have this access to the high-end residential. Were either one of those decision-making factors for you, or why are you exhibiting at CIX?
Well, one of the reasons why I'm exhibiting there is location. Not everybody wants to travel, and sometimes you got to just go to them. So the fact that it's in Colorado and it's not in it's like right in the middle, not quite the middle, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not the Vegas, it's not the Florida. It's kind of right in the area where you can get more easily accessible for people from Texas and Colorado and the locals. So a lot of times I just rely on it as more of a local show for us, at least, even though it's a little bit bigger than that. But I'm there for the commercial. So the commercial part of it's been branching out. So we wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. And so that's really why we're going, is to just see how we can further our business.
Well, last year, one of the most popular products I saw on the show floor was your little small controller product. Obviously, your speaker giveaway was popular too, but you have this little small controller product. Talk about I forget what that's called, but it's a really neat kind of all-in-one solution.
Yeah, so that's the RXT-4D. We call it the Reax room. And I'm proud. One thing, by the way, I am proud to say is a week before InfoComm, I got 2 of my patents on it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I got a design and a utility patent on it. So, and I got a few more coming as well. So yeah, it's a very unique solution. And that was that one panel that could do the beamforming mic, the speaker, and a bunch of other stuff. Come by our booth at CEDIA. You'll see it in action again. We expanded upon it this year, and we even added an AV over IP into that little tiny, well, here's an empty shell of it, but there you go. Like,
yeah, but that's really neat. And each one of those, I liked your you walked out when I walked into your booth last year. You said, everybody's coming out with these mic arrays. Well, I just put a mic in every single one of them, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's it's physics. What's going to sound better, something closer to or something far away? Same thing with speakers. What's going to sound better? Something projecting from the front of the room to the back of the room, or ceiling to floor, or something that's right in front of you. Plus, you get to make a mix minus. It's right in front of you, so you can do a mix minus. It solves a lot of problems, is what it does.
Yeah. Are you going to introduce anything new at CIX, or are you just I know you're probably shipping some of the stuff you introduced new at Infocom.
The IBT series, the what we call IP based T, not related to HD based T. That's new, and that we showed at Infocom, and this will be the first time we're showing it at this show. And that's like where 2 SKUs are the building blocks: a transceiver wall plate, a transceiver box, and then the building blocks to do point-to-point, a distribution amplifier of any scale, could be hundreds, thousands, whatever, a switch, or up to a 255 by 255 matrix. So it's like a hybrid of the scalability of AV over IP, but the simplicity of HD based T. And the best part about it is in the manual, it says if you put it on the customer's network to distribute the video, we won't help you, we won't warranty you, don't call us, don't ask us to change it, goodbye. So
you want to put it on a separate AVM.
Forcing you to use the network switch as a matrix. And if you try to use it for any other way, we're just not going to help you. So that's actually the best part about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's smart to do, because basically you're saying, look, this is the way you need to support it. This is the way you need to protect your network. This is the way to do it. And I like that concept. All right. Well, you'll be at CIX along with a bunch of other brands that are new to the show this year, and it is going to be bigger than last year. There's still time to register for the show, but definitely check out Aurora Multimedia when you go by there. And of course, if you want to register for there, click the link on the wherever you're watching this right now. And of course, obviously, if you're part of today's session, you're probably already registered or on the fence, but I want to make sure you check out Aurora Multimedia. If not for the cool products, for the entertainment that Paul Harris will give you when you come by the booth, because he's filled with jokes and also the giveaways. He has good giveaways. So.
Oh, now you pressure me to bring it again. Jeez. I'm just going to bring it.
All right. We got to go back to the next session. Thanks everyone for joining us. Paul, thanks for joining us.
I really, really love that product of Aurora's. It's probably one of my favorite things I've seen in a while.
It's a unique, you're giving everyone a controller right in front of their space. They all have the ability to take control of the meeting. You're giving them a mic. You even have a headphone port for those people that need assisted listening. I mean, it's kind of a unique way of doing things. And, it's different. It's definitely not what anyone else is doing.
No,
so if you like that approach, you're going to go for it.
I also really like how Paul thought about people who are socially awkward because he really thought about like, what are the awkward things that happen during a meeting? And one of those is like, where do I sit? If you're in a big board meeting with people you don't know, it can give you a seating assignment from this one little thing. So I really like that he thought about virtually everything that can make a meeting awkward. And
he's a creative dude. He's a creative dude, and he's done really well. He actually grew a lot during the pandemic. Who's next, Steph?
All right, next up is another person who probably needs like no introduction. This is one of my favorite people in the industry. This is Sharath Abraham, who is at Jabra, and he is so cool. And I am just so excited to pick his brain and ask, what the heck is he looking for at this show? What is he looking to solve? So I'm excited to introduce him. And next up, I'm really excited. I get to interview Sharath Abraham. Sharath, welcome to the show. First of all, how are you? I love the Harry Potter friends in the back there. Lovely office area.
Thanks. Those are my unofficial coworkers, but also coworkers. I'm from the Harry Potter era. So
yeah, there was a time during COVID where I think like everyone was just rereading Harry Potter to feel something.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where a whole generation were sucked into those books and then stopped reading the books because the movies came out. And then we're judged by another generation for not reading the books, the rest of them. But then you're like, the movies are out, so whatever.
I did not read the 7th book until COVID.
Yeah, same. So, I was just like, I don't need to.
I was like, I already know what happens. I got it. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I guess we're talking about CIX, and I guess I'll talk about that. So, first of all, CIX is coming up September in Denver.
I know.
This is your first time attending the show, so tell me what you are looking forward to seeing on the show floor.
It's really interesting going to a show where you have a combination of two worlds, right? It's like the first time peanut butter and jelly was introduced in a sandwich where no one knew how good it was. And now it's in a show form where you have residential and you have commercial and this new word. And I think I saw AV Teeps use resi-mercial. I don't know if that's official yet, right? And I think it's very important especially today, because if you look at all the data and documentation, and there's this company called Flex Index that reviews hybrid working, no one's in the office 100%. I mean, that's just the way life is now. We're predominantly working from home, or my favorite, working not from home, but not in the office, somewhere like a coffee shop or outside in the backyard, or hopefully some people have the ability to work on like a beach, but I don't make that much money yet. But that's what I'm excited. I'm really excited because I don't spend too much time in the residential world and what offerings they offer. But I also don't know how their businesses are these days. When I used to be at Crestron, I was part of the whole Crestron residential product support line, and I was immersed in that world. And I was like, all right, this is for really rich people, right? Like, let's be honest with you. Like,
it is
like normal people can't afford Crestron home controls. But now we're seeing a big shift into affordability of residential home products, such as automation of just lights or automation of shades, which is important when it comes to a video conferencing call where you might need lights or you might need shade. And then funny thing is, I'm seeing a lot more people with like material on their wall for audio dampening, right? That wasn't a thing. Nobody knew about it. So I'm curious to go and see if that's what the residential world is seeing as well.
That's really interesting that you bring that up. Do you feel like the way that we work is a good entry point for like the professional into the residential? Yeah,
it is. I mean, it's also I think there's a huge opportunity for collaboration. The AV industry, in a sense, talks about collaboration, but it's just talk for the most part.
Right.
But I think there's this huge opportunity where the residential markets and the commercial markets can say, hey, I'm going to tout my own company just because I work for Jabra. Let's say there's a Jabra product in the office. Why not also use a Jabra product at home, such as a headset, and then have whoever the administrator of a company manage it? And then why can't the residential company sell that and make a little money? And then the commercial company could do the installations, right? There's an opportunity where everyone can have a piece of the pie. Where in the AV industry back then, when I first joined, no one was keen to sharing the piece of the pie, if that makes sense. And now I think it's time for that to happen.
Well, now we have no choice, because just because you're joining a meeting from home, like, it's not an excuse to look bad anymore.
It's not. I mean, even in that sense, I think it's also, there needs to be conversations of it's okay to look bad as well, right? I think there's another sense of, the whole term of bring your whole self. Why not bring your whole self virtually? Like, if we look at my background, my room is not that clean. I have sneakers in my background. I have, that's part of the conversation that also needs to happen, is not just what's the technology, what's the etiquette that we're doing these days. All right, well, it's fine. But Steph, you always look wonderful. So it doesn't even make sense why.
Oh my God, shut up.
I'm just saying.
Well, Sharath, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking 5 minutes to chat with me. Obviously, cannot wait to see you in Denver. So
I know, I'm excited.
It's going to be so much fun.
I
feel like this is going to be one of those shows where I actually get to talk to you. So It's going to be great. So can't wait to see you there.
Can't wait to see you, and everyone else is there as well.
All right. Thanks, Sharath.
Bye.
All right. Our last interview of the day is with Shannon Humphrey. He is the president of SoundTube. SoundTube is probably most famous for being the first company that had network-based speakers where you could individually address every single speaker. They've added Dante to that now, so now it's compatible with the industry's largest network audio solution. And I sat down with him to talk with him about specifically what they're going to do at CIX. Like, what can we expect when we walk in their booth, and sort of how do they see themselves positioned between residential and commercial. So watch this. All right, as you know, we're here talking about CIX and why you need to register for the show. And to help encourage you to register for the show, I have Shannon Humphrey, who's the president of SoundTube. And SoundTube, I know you, Shannon, but first off, welcome to this event. I know you guys from being the first speaker company to have network-based speakers like 10 years ago. Congratulations. You guys pioneered the industry as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We're trying to, CIX has got a unique niche in the industry. It's in the fall. There's there's no other kind of commercial AV thing in the fall. It's very focused on, and it's interesting. There's a lot of home integrators getting into the commercial side. And there's also a lot of commercial that are dabbling in the home side. So, and you guys kind of can stretch both directions. I'm curious what you're going to launch at the show.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the big thing we're going to launch is some, an addition to our Dante line. We're calling it the Dante System Manager, but basically it's it's going to complete our Dante ecosystem, and it's a controller, if you will, for that will allow for us to use Dante in a home setting or in a bar or small commercial install. So you're going to use.
So it's sort of like an on-ramp for Dante into your networking, your current networking profile.
Exactly. Yes, it has some small DSP capabilities as well. So it could be a standalone system, or you.
So
could
it's more than a bridge. It's really a DSP controller and a bridge.
Exactly, 100%.
That's really cool.
And we're gonna have plugins for all the major manufacturers to go with our DSP. But yeah, it's really what we needed to complete our ecosystem and make it feasible to be able to use our Dante endpoints in the residential market.
Yeah, and that's interesting. It's funny how much, like 10 years ago, nobody in residential did 70-volt distribution as an example. Right. Now they realize, we don't need this stereo thing in a lot of places. We can go mono. People aren't asking for left, right when sitting around their pool. And it also makes it a lot simpler for distribution purposes, right? You don't have to worry about overloading the amp or the speakers. And now all of a sudden you've got Dante, which was originally developed specifically for the commercial AV market. And you had 350, 400 manufacturers that had adopted Dante over the last 15 years. And now you see it in the home. And really, for those that don't know, what's nice about it is that it means that you have this compatibility within a large ecosystem. So you get to it allows you to bring your products into a lot of applications, plug and play.
100%. And you also get a lot of controllability as well. With 70-volt, you're limited to mono, but with Dante, you can actually do mono, stereo, whatever you decide to do. So it really brings a lot of capability.
And you have that DSP capability that's beyond just room equalization, right? You can do a lot more than that.
Exactly. Yeah, you can EQ each speaker individually. You can control it. We have on different zones. It just depends on how you want to set it up.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And just since I think you're a bellwether for this information, so I'm going to ask you the question. What percentage of the industry is network-based speakers versus traditional routing right now?
Very little of it. If we're talking about, the commercial industry, we're looking at probably, I don't know, I would say less than 5% of all installs are when we're talking about it, we're talking about Dante endpoints. When you're talking about, I don't really have a good feel for the amplifier, Dante's stopping at the amplifier, but Dante.
Yeah, and that's what I was asking, the endpoints.
Yeah.
So I guess the good thing is there's a lot of growth potential in this segment of the market. And I think a lot of people are missing the simplicity of it.
It is. It's super simple to install. And yeah, we've had a lot of success with integrators who are forward thinking and looking at it. They see that it's a bulletproof solution for the live sound side. And so they're taking it to their commercial installs and they're reaping the rewards from that change.
Well, you have a great product line. I hope people check it out. If they're not familiar with SoundTube, go to soundtube.com. Check out the entire product line. You're a great company to work with. Family owned, can't do better than that. And Shannon, you've done a phenomenal job there. Thank you very much for joining us here. We want to encourage you to register for CIX, and of course CDA you get as a freebie, and pay attention because we got a lot more companies to cover that are going to be at the CIX show, and also offering products to the high-end residential side. Shannon, thank you very much for joining me today. Obviously, this was a quick fast-paced look at CIX and sort of how it relates to CDA Expo, Steph. I think we did a pretty good job assembling a group of people that are actively participating in the show. We didn't even talk about Snap One. We didn't talk about ADI. We didn't talk about Crestron. We didn't talk about Epson's going to be there in a big way. They have a bigger presence this year. Sony's going to be there in a big way. Planar's going to be there in a big way. A lot of big brands will be there that are going to be doing residential and commercial.
Legrand.
Legrand is another, yeah, that's actually a giant one. I mean, Legrand is the world's largest automated shade manufacturer. They're going to be there. And of course, there's going to be about 250 other brands that will be there that will be showing, a lot of new stuff. We're going to be there. We're going to go there and shoot videos at every booth, just like we normally do. Every single booth, we're going to shoot videos. Steph and I are going to do rAVe TV live every day. So if you can't go to the show, you can join us. We'll probably do it around 2 or 3 o'clock. I don't know exactly our schedule yet. We'll have to figure that out when we get there, Eastern time. But we'll do a rAVe TV episode every single day, and we'll kind of wrap up the show. But we're all going to also shoot videos in every single booth. You can go follow our coverage by going to ravepubs.com and clicking on the link for CIX or for CEDIA. I don't know the exact URL, but when the show's going on, it'll appear on your homepage. And Steph, they can always still register for the show, right? Right below us, there's that banner ad. They can register.
Yep. And with our link that you use, you get a free expo pass. So just walk right onto the show floor after you stop by registration, of course. And that gets you onto both. So you can check out both the CEDIA stuff and the CIX stuff. So you will get to see all different types of solutions. I really hope you do come. This is probably one of my favorite things to get to go cover every year. Because, personally, I'm there on both fronts to shop and see how I can up what I have in my collection. So really hope to see you guys there. It's going to be really, really great. And I hope that this hour-long presentation showed that to you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. And, of course, we love your feedback. Tell us what you want us to do next. You're always welcome to email both me and Steph. It's just our first name, Gary and then Steph STEPH. therAVeagency.com. Reach out to us. Let us know what you're thinking, how you like rAVe TV, what do you want us to do different. We are listening to what you say. And of course, you can always check us out at ravepubs.com. Thanks for joining us. Steph, it's great to do this with you, and I will see you in the office, but I'm excited to be going to CEDIA with you and to CIX in the beginning of September.
Same. Can't wait. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.